Joining me now, Sanjay Kumar, psephologist and election analyst. Professor Maidul Islam, political scientist, joins me from Kolkata. Sandeep Shastri, election analyst and vice president, Niti University. Appreciate all three of you joining us to look at those West Bengal numbers very closely. Sanjay Kumar, high voter turnout. Could this be bad or good news for the incumbent?
Rajdeep, very difficult to say whether it is a good news or a bad news for incumbent, because we have seen in the past turnouts have gone up, government have got re-elected and governments have also got defeated. Just to cite the data, if you look at all the state assembly elections held since 1952 till date, I managed to collect the data for almost about 370, 380 assembly elections, and we have figured out that when the turnout goes up, half of the time the governments got re-elected and half of the times, nearly half of the time, government got defeated. What do you make out of it? Very difficult to say. What does this high turnout indicate?
Very difficult to predict what this high voter turnout indicates. Rahul, Verma, are you willing to take the plunge and say that this could be signs of anti-incumbency in West Bengal? Or do you believe the SIR effect needs to be first gauged before we know what impact it's actually had?
So, yes, I think largely it's an SIR effect, two kinds of SIR effect. One is cleaning up of electoral rolls, getting the denominator reduced. And so the numbers on the numerator side will give you a bigger sort of percentage. Second, I think at least in Bengal, it is a SIR induced fear as well, that if I do not go out and vote this time, my name is not going to be there. So there is much more people coming back and definitely voting. Third, I think Bengal, because it's a highly polarized society, and with every election, the level of polarization is going up. And so you cannot afford to have an opponent in power. And so you just want to make sure that for your own party, you have to be there. These three things are what basically is about high turnout. I don't think it is related to anti-incumbency or pro-incumbency sentiment.
Maidul Islam, your first reactions, particularly in the backdrop of now more and more polls showing the BJP could be ahead in West Bengal. Do you believe that the polarization has now reached a saturation point possibly and perhaps is now turning marginal seats into victories? We'll of course discuss that on polling day, but what explains this high voter turnout? Complete polarization?
Well, I agree with Rahul before, and I also agree with Professor Sanjay Kumar. I think there's no direct relationship between turnouts and polling outcomes. The most important thing regarding the turnout figures, what we have to concentrate is on the women voter turnout. Now, in the first phase, there was a 2% difference between the women voter turnout with the men's voter turnout. So women are actually turning out more in the first phase. And that's the same thing is continuing up till now in the second phase. Till now, the data is showing that it's 1% more in favor of women. Now, if that is happening, then of course there is advantage Mamata, because women are the core voters, where the cash transfer schemes have been increased over the years, particularly in the last 5 years, the 500 to 1,000 and 1,000 to 1,500. And then there's also new schemes for the new the youth, urban youth, or the unemployed youth. I guess those social and the delivery of different other social welfare schemes. And also the Bengal has a history of these long regimes. With since 1972, it has always been a two-third majority. Whoever wins is big, right? And then another trend is that whoever wins the Lok Sabha election, they win the next assembly elections. Now, in the last 2 years, the BJP, of course, lost the Lok Sabha elections in 2024, and there has been not very much anti-government movement, because in Bengal, generally overnight it doesn't change governments. You get a signal for, let's say, 5 years, 10 years. It has happened before the transition phase from the 67 to 77. And it has changed from 2008 to 11 if you switch post Singur Nandigram. I think that, so we cannot completely ignore this entire state's history and long-term political trends and the long-term party systems, how it occurs. So I guess at the booth level organization, what I find in my fieldwork, of course, I've basically
Right.
gone to different places in South Bengal. is the booth level organization of the BJP is really, really weak. Whereas you have booth level organizations of the Trinamool, and quite interestingly, the CPM still has certain booth level organizations. Now, if the SIR is a factor and the migrant labor is also coming back just to turn out because they fear that their vote names will be
Right.
deleted, then all parties are actually mobilizing their cadres or their supporters. So the CPM is also mobilizing, Congress is mobilizing, the ISF is mobilizing, the BJP, Trinamool, everyone is mobilizing because they think that their voters, their supporters, even if they don't win, their supporters and their voters just get turnout so that their names should be there in the next summary division.
Okay, so SIR, of course, remains a major X factor. Sandeep Shastri, do you believe that this voter turnout suggests that Mamata Banerjee is in serious trouble and possibly after 15 years anti-incumbency has set in?
Rajdeep, I would not move to making that conclusion just on this principle. I would go with my other three panelists, but I would make the 3 points in a different order. I think, firstly, increased voter turnout for me is a byproduct of a environment perceived to be more safe and more secure. I don't know if it has to do with the central forces around, but generally the perception that there is a better law and order and a better security and a better safety situation around the time of the elections has led to a greater voter turnout. Secondly, I think the hyper polarization that this election has seen has got the committed voters of both the BJP and the TMC to come out in large numbers and vote. And I think a critical deciding factor is who has been between the two more successful in doing that. And third, of course, I would also see the SIR role, what Rahul just now said, the factor of the corrections in the voters list, and the fear factor that if I do not go and vote this time, next time my name may be out of the list. So I think it's a combination for me of all these three factors which account for a higher voter turnout. Is it going to lead to change, or is it going to lead to continuity? For me, the main factor would be this hyper polarization. Who has been able to get their voters in larger numbers to the booth? Is it the TMC? Is it the BJP?
So this hyper-polarization, if you can explain that to us, Sanjay Kumar, is there any state quite like Bengal which is as hyper-polarized? Remember, the BJP till 10 years ago was a marginal party. They seem to have succeeded in continuously growing in West Bengal. The TMC took a large chunk of the left vote, which was dominant for 30 years. Hyper-polarization, is that the explanation for this remarkably high voter turnout? Or anger or fatigue? What is it?
I would not prefer to use the word, polarization, hyper-polarization. I would say intense mobilization. Instead of polarization, it is an intense mobilization by the cadres, party cadres of both the parties, and also the two parties which may not be doing very well. I am referring to the Congress and the Trinamool and the left parties. So I missed out in the first instance that we should also not forget that better law and order situation, the presence of security forces, that has also contributed to a very high turnout because people came out to vote. They were not worried about violence being taking place on the polling day. But I think intense mobilization, that's one certainly a big factor which has contributed to the increase in voter turnout.
Is it a level playing field though, Rahul Verma, you believe? The TMC is claiming it's not a level playing field. The BJP is saying it's completely free and fair. Is that also creating these very, very competitive narratives in this hyper-polarized atmosphere?
West Bengal has never seen uniform contest. The reason why I'm saying this, because think of it, between 1977 and 2026, 50 years, power has changed hands in West Bengal only once. That was 2011. You don't have, so Bengal produces hegemonic parties, dominant parties. Once you have that kind of party, then you are never going to have, uniform contest. the something that you asked before this, which is that how is Bengal different? Bengal is also different because in no other state you see this kind of security mobilization, and you also don't see this kind of election related violence, right? This is not happening just in 2026. Even in the past, during left years, during like when TMC came to power. So power in Bengal has not changed in silent ways as it had happened happens in other parts, right? That's what is so the word that I think Sandeep ji was using about hyperpolarization. It's not just that it's a Hindu-Muslim polarization or we are
Right.
ideologically different. It's politics which is marked with violence, and because of that, it creates these kind of things in the society.
A final
And
word
why
from
it
you,
happens?
Mr.
Because long back, sorry, Rajdeep, because in Bengal, parties have penetrated, first left, now TMC has penetrated in society. They basically interfere in small matters of societal relations, what Dwaipayan Bhattacharya has called as party society. So because Bengal is peculiar, we are seeing peculiar phenomena in there.
Before you leave us, Mr. Islam, I want to ask you a one quick answer. The Mahila vote, is that going to be critical? In all of this, voter turnout, as you said, marginally higher among women. Is that going to be decisive? If there's any factor that's decisive in Bengal, it will be, have the women stuck with Mamata Banerjee, or have they shifted, particularly Hindu women, shifted to the BJP?
I think it's very difficult to say now, but whatever fieldwork, ethnographic fieldwork, of course, ethnography has its own limitations. I still find that the Hindu women voters are still very strongly behind Mamata. And I think this election could probably be again an election of three M's: Muslims, Matuas, and Mamata. And so I think that is going to be, we have to see that. Even in the Mathua belt, the BJP is having a very difficult terrain because the Mathuas are not happy. Their names were also deleted. They were core voters of the BJP since 2019 Lok Sabha elections. And there is a huge kind of resentment. Uh,
Right.
so I think we have to be a bit cautious to just to project uh, a kind of result for Bengal now. It's a very politically intense state. I completely agree with Professor Sanjay Kumar that this is political mobilization, intense mobilization in an intensive revision kind of a space. And of course, it's also a sad thing that 35 lakh voters have gone to the tribunal, and the latest strike rate of inclusions is 99%. I am quite worried that how this election will be challenged or not later on, just from the pure point of law in terms of margin and the kind of deletions,
Right.
and most of them are genuine voters. So I think we have to wait till 4th of May to do more research to get a deep dive into the data that will come out.
I'm going to leave it there for you on West Bengal. Appreciate your joining us, Professor Islam.